Who the fuck are you?
Just some dude with a mouth!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it is all about the monster. We are a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska. Khalid is kind of with me in spirit here. This is kind of a special, fun episode. We are talking with Luisa Guerreiro, who played the Toxic Avenger in prosthetics, Toxie the Bod, in the most recent Toxic Avenger movie from director Macon Blair. We got the chance to chat with Luisa for a long time. It's a really nice interview. She's very warm and kind person with lots of really cool insights. She also played a lot of other characters like Dr. Dillamond in the Wicked films. We talk about that, and we talk about some of her other roles as well. But before we get into that, I just wanted to take a moment to share something that is impacting the local community here in Minnesota, where I am from. I'd be remiss if I don't mention this. I feel like we don't want to always be a political podcast. We want to be a place where people can generally come and escape and have fun. But that being said, we always try and strive to make sure that diverse voices are heard on our show, and we have accepting viewpoints. That being said, here in Minnesota, there has been a lot of attacks on specifically our immigrant communities around the country, but in Minnesota, the Somali community particularly has come under fire as President Trump referred to the entire population as, quote, garbage. These attacks have been furthered by the Attorney General and one of our own representatives in Congress who made this wildly false claim that Somalia is responsible for 80% of the crime here in Minnesota. Patently false. The Somali folks in Minnesota are our neighbors, our friends, as somebody who works in the schools, students, parents I've worked with, interwoven in our communities and our friends and neighbors. Much of these attacks are centered around a fraud case in Minnesota. That are 86 people charged with fraud schemes, 60 have been committed. These folks happen to be Somali. Despite that, there are 80 to 84,000 Somali folks living in Minnesota, and the leaders in our country holding this entire population, even going as far to insult the entire country of Somalia and justifying it by pointing to these 86 on trial for fraud. This is absurd logic. It's not the kind of logic that we want to adhere to. So in thinking of all of this and what's going on, I just wanted to share a few resources. If you are somebody who's interested in supporting, helping these communities, not in, of course, the Somali communities who I'm mentioning, but it's immigrant communities across the country and even in Minnesota here as well, are facing all sorts of challenges because of what's going on politically. So if you're interested in support, I highlighted a few organizations. I know we have a mild and small reach, but I would like to do what we can with what we've got. So check out some places like the Minnesota Somali Community Center, Monarca Rapid Response Line, which is dedicated to responding to federal enforcement activity in Minnesota, the Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee, which helps immigrants across the board here, and then the International Institute in Minnesota, which is an organization that helps immigrant and refugees build homes in Minnesota and helps them out. It's an organization that I myself and Nicole have worked with before, and we really like them. So I will link those in the show notes if you're interested in supporting or helping these communities. Please feel free to check those out and donate. Of course, the best things to do is obviously probably being out in the streets in the community, but if that's a challenge, I know it can be difficult. I'm sure any financial donations would be greatly appreciated. That being said, let's get to the fun stuff. We are talking primarily about the Toxic Avenger film. I mentioned we'll talk about other roles that Luisa has been a part of, but Toxic Avenger is sort of our main focus that we kind of dig the most into. Toxic Avenger that Luisa is a part of recently came out, I think was filmed earlier, but I think it dropped just this last year in 2025, and 2023 is when it started to enter the film festival circuits. It's an update to the 1984 Troma film by the same name, which spawned three sequels: Toxic Avenger Part 2, The Toxic Avenger Part 3, The Last Temptation of Toxie, and Citizen Toxie, The Toxic Avenger 4, created by Lloyd Kaufman. So it's a really, this update, the recent one, I would say it's a really enjoyable movie. It's a very enjoyable experience, update to the originals. It wears its politics on its sleeve in a really fun way. It's brutal, but it has a heart. It's just an all-around fun film. I know we've covered in the past Psycho Goreman. I feel like would make a good companion piece to the Toxic Avenger film here. Anyway, that being said, I do have, and I'm reaching across time and space here to bring this to you, a fun synopsis from our homeboy Khalid for the Toxic Avenger.
Thanks, Joe. Today we'll be talking about the 2023 sci-fi action comedy The Toxic Avenger, directed by Macon Blair. I've got a synopsis from your homeboy Khalid, aka me, and it goes a little something like this. In a fictional decrepit town that sounds like a Fox News host's idea of Chicago, ailing janitor Winston Goose tries his best to give his stepson a good life. After robbing his company at Mott Point goes horribly wrong, Winston is mutated into a monstrosity that finally lets him unleash his rage on the real scourge of the world: prog rock rappers in clown makeup.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
And thank you so much, Khalid, for delivering that across time and space, as I mentioned. We are going to jump right into our interview here. I just wanted to say once more how delightful it was to chat with Luisa and how much we appreciated having the chance to have her on the show and to just listen to the numerous stories she was able to share with us about her experience working in creature acting, doing puppetry, wearing prosthetics. Immensely fascinating and just an immensely delightful human being overall. So without further ado, let's get into our interview with Luisa Guerreiro. All right, Luisa Guerreiro, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. It's been a day. I burnt myself today on cooking roast chicken. You know how It's amazing. You know, got to do a Sunday roast.
As you do, yeah.
Had an argument with the 2.5-year-old about whether she could sit on the floor that had just been literally rained on, and also had a dog poo right there. Oh. And I was like, no, this is not going to happen because there's enough in my life that's pre-treats. So it's been a very mundane day. We had a Sunday, went to the park, but no, I feel good. I'm exhausted. Hashtag parenting, but I'm good. I'm good. It's all good.
I feel you. The other day I had to try to reason with a 4-year-old about why he couldn't eat Cheez-Its that fell on the floor of a restaurant. And I was like, it's messy, but my attempt to throw it away led to a longer frustration.
I'm the other way, which is probably not great, but I like to think it helps my immune system. I'm not one of those, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. You could die. And one of those options is death. So I'm not going to put that on my children. But there is a point where if something's dropped, people will go, oh, don't worry, it dropped. And I'm like, it's fine. We have a cat. It's fine.
I think I'm totally with you. I like at home, the grass. I think it was just the place we were at where like it looked like, because we're like winter and stuff was tracked, and I was like, I think it's been in mud now. I'm like, we're gonna pass on this.
You know, when there's certain levels of judgment where you're like,
yeah, you gotta have a certain level. I think, right? Yeah.
There's tiers to the 5-second rule. There's places. Places where you really gotta like kind of. You're almost doing like a trial on like how worthy is the food versus the floor.
Yeah. And some places you got to move to the 10-second rule.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I think the London Tube is where I have drawn the line. I'm like, it's gone. Oh, it's gone. And they like suddenly kick it into the train line. You're like, oh, Bubba, it's gone.
I can't get it. It's impossible.
It's like, you can't, you know, it's fine. It's just, it's one of those pressed fruit things they give to under twos to make it sound like they're having like crisps or something.
Yeah, it's more exciting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like we have more in the bag, but they don't want that specific one that fell, you know?
No, they want the one that fell.
Yeah, it's more special. I don't know.
It's the one that got away. I have a feeling, I hope this doesn't reflect into her relationships. Like, if it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
Don't keep trying to pick it off the floor. You know, there are new ones in the bag.
Some things just stay on the floor, and that's a lesson every child should learn.
Exactly. so all new guests to our podcast, I always ask these first two questions just to kind of get a feel for your vibes, but it's okay. Since we are kind of like we talk about creatures and monsters, I always like to ask, like, what is your favorite like monster in all of pop culture? And if it's not the same, what do you consider to be the scariest too?
Like, I grew up with like the whole Chuckies and things like that, but my favorite one is not a scary one. I think my favorite one is Ludo from Labyrinth.
Great choice.
Like, just because as a kid, I wanted to save him so much, and he was so just beautifully. He was just the nicest of creatures. All he wanted was to have friends. And I was like, this, and he was like, Ludo. And as a kid, I was just like, he's like the big friend, because I'm 4'9". And I was like, I want someone tall who can literally look threatening, but is super nice. And then I found them at secondary school. But Ludo was just full of magic for me. So yeah, Ludo comes to mind. But also
That's
Gremlins.
He's great.
Loved Gremlins.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what's the scariest. I find people more scary than monsters in pop culture a lot of the time. I think if I was going to pick a monster, it would be, I think it's American Psycho.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Just in terms of monstrous, like, it's the most monstrous one I can think of at this point in time. Like, when you play with humanity, like it's just like, tapas. I think that's more scary than anything. And I grew up with like the Chuckies and It's of my time, and and they were pretty terrifying. And like the Blair Witch time, I remember that coming out, and that was the most psychologically disturbing one I saw. Everything else was pretty jump scare, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I know it's coming, it's a film. But yeah, that was the one where I was like, I stupidly, I think I was 12 years old, I stupidly watched it in the dark, because that's how unfazed I was by horror movies. I was like, nothing scares me, it's fine. And then I watched that and was like, yeah, I might put a light on tonight. This is
yeah, that one gets you.
American Psycho, because I watched that and was like, I thought that's beyond psychotic. That was a point where I was Christian Bale, and that was amazing. Trying to think. I mean, as a kid, Chucky terrified me, because I was like, where's the batteries? Where's the batteries? I checked all of my toys after Chucky. I was like, the batteries are out. And I had one of those dogs that jumped up and down. It probably would have done nothing to me. Like, it probably just would have flipped onto my head and given me a minor concussion. But I was like, the batteries are out. The batteries are out. We're safe. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
No, I'm with you. I feel you on the Chucky one, because that was one of my like scariest things when I was a kid. We had this like little clown like toy that I had as a kid, and it reminded me of Chucky. And I remember like I broke its little wooden leg and threw it in the garage because I was like, this terrifies me. My mom picked it up thinking I had just lost it, put it back in my room, and I was like, oh no, how did it get back here?
Wow.
So I remember that was a whole thing for like a couple weeks in my childhood.
I never had like a scary doll, but when we were kids, my mom was like, oh yeah, we'll get you a chemistry set, like a little toy chemistry set. But me and my sister, probably having just watched a movie or something, like, nah, I know where this leads. We're going to create something. We're going to mutate something. And so we would just hide it under our mom's bed and then like dare each other to go like look at it.
The evil chemistry set.
To this day, I don't know how to do chemistry. I'm just saying.
You've lost it. It sounds like a Goosebumps.
They had me. What was the other one? I don't know if you had it in the States. We had something called Round the Twist.
Round the Twist? I haven't heard of that.
No.
It was an Australian TV series. And it's basically like Erie, Indiana, but Australian based.
Ooh, I like that.
And it was all these scenarios that would happen, and they were kind of spooky goings on, but they were in the like very suburban life. So you didn't really think much of it until they were actually happening. And then these kids had to find out what was going on. It was always tended to be like the hellmouth of where they were. But yeah, it was one of those. It was one episode where seagulls just kept crapping on people's heads to the point where they were covered in white seagull crap. And I was like, this is monstrous, but also like, what did they eat? What did these seagulls eat? I'm like, who's feeding them paint? Someone's feeding these seagulls white paint, because it's the only explanation I have for this. But yeah, it was one of those where I was like, But that was one we had. But I loved Erie, Indiana. I loved.
Oh, that was great.
That was just like right for my time. Straight after school, get home, watch that. And of course, my
Awesome.
mum's second language English, Portuguese. So she was just like, they're being entertained. TV babysitter's doing a great job. I'm putting the dinner on. She had no idea what we were watching. So until one day she came in, she was like, this looks a bit like, she used to call it fantasy crap. She's like, what is this fantasy crap? I'm like, oh, it's nothing. It's like kids news. And she's like, oh, okay, at least you're learning. I was like, ooh.
That was a really good save. Awesome. My other question I have for you is just like, what are you like the most geeky about? Like, what's your kind of like geek fandom?
Oh, it was X-Files. We were, I can say it because you guys are. I have a twin sister who I don't particularly like a lot. I always say, "Bitch has my face." She's identical. But we used to watch it together, and when other people were like collecting things, we went hardcore. We collected the X-Files. We would cut out every little bit of paper, like magazine clipping. We used to know their FBI numbers off by heart.
Wow.
That we were like hardcore on that, and so It was one of those things that when we moved out of the house, there was still this huge X-File collection that was like in folders, like someone had basically like killed the X-File characters, and we were now in the process of investigating where they could be. Like the huge amounts of information that I'm not sure if we could have sold, but I left it to my sister. I bequeathed it and was like, you deal with it. Because I'm moving out. You can have all of it. I took a few things without her knowing, but I said, you can have all of it. And so now she was in charge of that, but she moved all the way to New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't be far enough. But I don't know what happened to it. It's somewhere. But that was my real geekiness, to the point where like we would like do Halloween as Mulder and Scully. And, you know, we had goldfish we called Mulder and Scully.
Have you kept up with like the newer reboots and stuff of X-Files?
Yes.
Any thoughts on like the latest one? I think it's like the one with like Kumail Nanjiani and stuff. I think not Jordan Peele. Somebody had an involvement with it.
I
You know
mean,
what I'm talking about, Joe?
it's
Like
as long as
I do not know what you're talking about, Khalid.
it was like the one that came out like a few years
I
ago.
think it's X-Files. Is that X-Files?
Yeah, it was X-Files. I think they're like, I don't know. Am I mistaking that with Twilight Zone?
No, I'm
Possibly.
Googling it. It says Kumail Nanjiani's The X-Files. I never knew this was a thing.
Yes, I knew I wasn't making that up. And
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler is doing another X-Files reboot.
Oh, the Kumail one's a podcast.
Oh, that's probably what I'm. But I think he was in an episode of like the most recent reboot too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I was like, how much of a
Lot of
fan am I? I
X-Files
was like,
stuff.
wait, I did not know.
I don't know about this one.
That was a long time ago. I mean, I still enjoy very much. I mean, there was a channel here, and I can't remember what it was, that did all of them. Disney Plus. Disney Plus had all of the X-Files on it, like the previous year. And I was like, I'm going to go back down memory lane. And it was still good. I was like, I knew I had a good collection here. I knew this was good to follow. But my mum was like, is it like Star Wars? Because I think she was like, if I hold on to this stuff, then I can sell it later and make a lot of money. And I was like, I don't know, Mum. It comes with waiting with time and seeing what the audience is, and like how much was it followed, how much was it coveted, how rare are the items. The minute I said that to her, I think she probably would have recycled a lot of it. So I don't know. It's going to be somewhere.
I think it'll have value. I think you're absolutely right to invest your time into it as a kid. That has yielded great returns. So many great show writers have come out of it. So your instincts were right as a kid. That's got to be like nice to a nice feeling.
And also a lot of actors who were in that, I recognize as they've gone through their careers. I'm like, shit, like Jack Black was in it. I hadn't realized until I went back and watched like certain episodes. Like, shit, there's Jack Black. He was in the X-Files? I was like, as a kid, you don't realize that because these people are having careers as you grow. And then you go back to it and you're like, it was just so well written. And the music as well, like Mark Snow did an amazing job with the music. It was just so simple and yet effective. And if there are any composers there, I'm not saying that he wrote simple music. I'm just saying, as a layperson, it sounded simple, but that was the genius in it, to make it sound like it was just subversively coming in. But yeah, I was like, I have a few friends who are musicians. They were like, "Excuse me, simple?" I'm like, no, like in a complicated way.
All right. So switching gears to ask you some questions myself. So
Okay.
just checking out your website and your IMDb and stuff like that, you have a really just vast range of skill sets, voice acting, motion capture, comedy. But the thing I want to ask you about is your puppeteering experience. Do you have any examples where puppeteering has come up in a job? Can you just go into a little detail about that aspect of your oeuvre?
I mean, I've had a few jobs as a puppeteer in my own right. So, like theatre productions, where usually I'm the body of a puppet and you're imbuing it with life from the inside. So I'd say you're the soul and the heartbeat. And then you'll have like someone on the head. So it's like a 3-man job. Someone on, like, I did a dinosaur once, which was a 2-man job. And it was me and my friend Mikey, who he did the head and the animatronics, which was very much pull levers. And then I was in the body doing the arm and the movement. But we had to follow each other. And that was a show called The Christmasaurus, which was written by Tom Fletcher. And then they put it into a concert version at the Eventim, which is a massive venue. They like do sell out, like, gosh, Metallica had like concerts there as well, and it's vast. But it was at that point for, I'd say, about 2,000 to 3,000 kids every night watching this with their families. It was on for about a week.
Oh, wow.
Over a Christmas period about 4 years ago, and that was brilliant. So that kind of puppeteering I do, but also like rod puppetry. I suppose the most recent one I had is I worked on Wicked, doing puppeteering on that. So I was the movement for Dr. Dillamond. So whenever you see Dr. Dillamond, they'd have me as a reference point. Apparently, when I'm on all fours, I'm the perfect size for a goat. So if anyone needs a goat out there in the industry, I can do it. I'm there. I'm free. But I'd like to give movement to it. So study goat movement, the gait of a goat. It's really hard to say, the gait of a goat. And just like imbuing that so that when the VFX people are looking at it, they already have, like, obviously a very realistic goat avatar animated for that, but they need to have a reference point of the size and movement in the space, especially when acting with the other actors. So that puppeteering is what I did on Wicked, but also other creatures. Like when they've got a mouse running across a frame, that would be me with a rod, just puppeteering what would essentially be like a little ball on a stick, and to give it that range of motion so the camera has something to follow. Otherwise, you're just animating without any movement behind it. If that mouse is moving and you're using it as a POV or a framing target for the camera to follow along, it really helps to understand the speed of that mouse so that you're not guessing it. So you have these various points where the mouse will stop. You look at how different creatures move, and that's a lot of it is based on breath and heartbeat, how that conveys into energy, personality. Are they a prey or are they a predator? Usually makes a difference to how they move as well. Like a mouse will stop and start to see what's in the, it will sniff the air to see what's around. Predators seem to be what I'd call more aloof, unless they're in a hunting frame of mind. So we also had cheetahs and leopards in Wicked as well, and just any type of creature. It was brilliant for puppeteering because you can just have fun. The birds were amazing to play with as well, because some of us were actually birds in scenes, and then other people were just puppeteering as well. So that was a great one. Like Wicked was one of those beautiful moments where you're surrounded by a team of about 4 or 5 other puppeteers, and then you've got Cynthia Erivo or Jeff Goldblum or Ariana Grande singing live while you puppeteer around them, and you're all in grey suits. It's very, very unglamorous, but you just get to like integrate into the scene and feel so honored because you're hearing everything for the first time, and they all sing live. And then you just have to be these creatures and you just imbue them with life and you respond. Then what they'll do is they take all the puppeteers away. They'll put in a few markers just so the actors still have a reference point if they need it from when they've acted with the creatures. And then they'll do what's called a clean slate. And then once they've got the clean slate, the VFX team and the animators, the artists, will do their amazing job, and they will put all the creatures that you see when you see the film. So yeah,
wow,
puppeteering is one of my loves. It's one of my loves. It just, I grew up with, Labyrinth's one of my favorite. Dark Crystal is also one of my favorite because it was dark, and I was like, thank you for not sugarcoating this, because in my childhood, I know that everything is not great. I know that there's death and destruction. Like, don't hide it from me. Make it palatable so that I understand it. But I loved The Dark Crystal because it wasn't one of those where everything has a happy ending. I was like, yeah, like I don't always get ice cream when I ask for it. This movie, it calls to me. Like, this is absolutely fair. And puppeteering, like Sesame Street was another one I grew up watching. The Muppets, just all these different versions of how you can forget that this thing that's been made is not an inanimate object anymore. It has a personality. It reaches you. So that when people see an Elmo doll, they don't just go, oh, yeah, it's a doll. You see people physically shouting Elmo across a store. They get so excited because of the memory they have with that connection they've had as kids. And I think it's super important. I think puppeteering is still something we do now. And when it's used with practical effects and CGI, I think you can get a really good mix. That's what I prefer that. When I see a film and there's a mixture of practical effects, puppetry, maybe a bit of CGI, but not too much. I think that's when we're using all these things as tools to enhance, not just as things to cut corners and save costs.
It's really well put.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful too.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like, I don't think of Elmo as a puppet even now as a grown man. It's Elmo. It's its own thing. It's a creature. Pivoting to your work in the gaming industry, you worked on Horizon Zero Dawn, Baldur's Gate 3. What was it like to work on video games as opposed to in film? You mentioned Wicked a little bit. So what's the mocap experience like in gaming?
I mean, I'm biased, but my experience of working in the motion capture, performance capture world is the people involved in the gaming world are some of the most genuine, authentic, nicest people who do not have facets of being inauthentic. They just, you take them as they are. It's a family that I kind of entered into through an accident, really, auditioning. The first mocap job, or I say performance capture job, facial recognition job I had was Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And I hadn't actually realized what it was because the audition was set out as a film audition because they didn't want people knowing what the next game in the franchise would be. So I knew that motion capture would be involved. I knew that they needed someone who had combat experience, and I come from a combat background. And the first thing I asked them, because I was asked to audition, and I said, look, I'm 4'9". I'm just putting it out there, but usually when people want combatants to play pirates or female romantic leads, they want a certain height. So you do know I'm 4'9", and the casting director was like, "That fine, but it's going to be motion captured." And I think that was back in 2000 and it's like 2008 or something like that. It was ages ago, and I knew about motion capture because of Andy Serkis in Lord of the Rings. So I had a vague understanding. It was just breaking through as something that was becoming a bit more mainstream, even though I know now it had been going for 20 years in the undercurrent before that. A very exclusive set of people who were doing it and providing those movements. But I kind of fell into it by accident doing Assassin's Creed. I did the audition. I didn't get anything. And I was like, okay, fine, it's fine. I didn't get that film. And then a year later, I had this very anonymous email come into my inbox saying, "We really loved your audition. We'd love to use your voice. And would you mind signing this NDA? And then we'll be able to let you know what it is. But do let us know if you're interested. Sign the NDA and we'll tell you more." I was like, they have got the wrong actress. Do I tell them? No, I'm not going to tell them. I'm just going to see if they give me this job because, I need the job. I was like, okay, this sounds really interesting. And then they gave me information and they said it was going to be Assassin's Creed. And I was like, this is amazing. This is I know this game. I'm not even a gamer at this point, but I know Assassin's Creed. And this is crazy. This is super exciting. They've got the wrong actress. I've not auditioned for these people. I find out it's Ubisoft Montreal. I was like, that's Canada. I live in the UK. They've definitely got the wrong actress. And I was like, I'm just going to say yes, and then they're going to realize. I was like, amazing, yes, I'm free for the recording date. Brilliant, send me what you got. And they sent me everything. I was like, these guys are fools. They've got the wrong actress. To the point where I actually got to the recording studio, and was like, okay, I'm going to get found out. I'm going to have to fess up here. Like, this is so unprofessional. I know I hear stories about people chancing at me like, that's how I started my career. I'm like, this won't be me. I'm never that person. And then I got there, I was like, it clicked. The code name for it was Black Flag for the film. And then when I opened up all the stuff and got to the actual recording, my brain just went, oh, you did that thing last year, which was Black Flag, but it was a movie. And for some reason, my brain just went, oh, they've seen your tape that was sent over and they've liked your voice. That's what they mean when they say we really liked your audition. I thought I'd done a voice audition for these people. And I was like, oh. So I got in, did the recording. I found out I was a beautiful redhead called Caroline Scott Kenway. And they put dots all over my face, which was very strange. And then I did the ADR for someone else who'd done the motion capture, but then I provided the voice and the facial recognition. And this was the most amazing step into a world whereby it wasn't about the way you looked, which is very strange for this career because a lot of time it is. It was about the way you performed. It was about what you gave in talent and choices and, all of the things that we do this career for. I was like, this is amazing. As a 4'9" girl who looks a lot like Danny DeVito, this will open up so many doors for me. I was like, this is amazing. How do I do more of this? And then for the next 3 or 4 years, I was just knocking on the door to find that people are really inviting. It's not closed. It's not, who do you think you're talking to? Please only contact us when we've got something on. Just knocking on doors going, hi, I'm interested, I'm passionate. I've just done Assassin's Creed. I don't know much about motion capture, but I'm happy to do a demo. If you need anyone like me, here's my stuff. And you get people responding to you and going, we can't help you, but getting a response. Or saying, look, we don't have any demos at the moment, but we'll keep your file. Do you have an acting CV? Do you have a reel? Do you have a movement reel? And that's the moment where I was like, for 3 years going, well, I'll get this stuff together because this is the kind of world I want to be in. But from the very beginning, everyone I met who did motion capture or gaming was the most generous of people. And I was like I come from a musical theatre background as well. I know I do puppetry. I'm jack of all trades, master of some. But musical theatre is what I trained in for my masters. And the difference in musical theatre, and I've got to say there are some really lovely musical theatre people out there. Please do not come at me, you phantom people, because of this. But you know what I'm talking about when you go into a toilet of an audition in musical theatre and you're serenaded. Like, you've got Avenue Q on one side, Phantom on the other, Les Mis. You go, why, God? Like, stop it. Like, I just want to go to the toilet. Everyone's doing a warm-up. But then you get there and there's people at a musical theatre audition where I remember this very clearly. I was 12 years old. I was auditioning for the National Youth Musical Theatre. I remember it so well. And I sat next to this very nice, I think she was very nice. She has friends, let's put it that way. I wasn't one of them. She has friends. But I don't know her name. I just remember sitting next to her, next in line to audition. And I remember being like a bit nervous. And I just chatted to her because that's the kind of person I am, which probably she didn't like, but she could have just said. And I was like, so what are you auditioning with? And she was like, I don't know, what are you auditioning with? I went, oh, I've got Memory from Cats. And she was like, oh. I was like, do you know it? She was like, yeah, I think I sang that last year in my recital. I was like, oh, great. What are you singing? She was like, you wouldn't know it. I was like, damn, it's going to be this. Like, I'm not going to steal your music. I have my music. Like, seriously. I did a crap job anyway, so she felt very reassured. But I was like, oh, for goodness sake. I've never encountered anything like that. I know it's rare in musical theatre, but it's a bit more catty at times. I hope people don't mind me saying that. But MT people, you need to calm down. It's a musical theatre audition. You're singing emotions. Calm down. No one is competition unless you make them. Everyone can have their shot at this. The best person should get it. Just don't have to be nasty to people. But motion capture, that is a world I've never found anyone being catty. I've never found anyone trying to trip someone to go, oh, if they have a broken leg, they can't play this part. They were like, hey, guess what? This character now has a broken leg. I think it's interesting. It's one of those I've just found everyone's really lovely. I don't know if that's the same. I don't know if there's pockets of the gaming community I haven't met yet. But all I can say from my experience is every gamer I have met, either working in gaming or being a gamer themselves, has just been so easy to get along with and so authentic and generous, and it's really rubbed off on everyone. Like I was offered some work, and I was pregnant with my second child, and I was offered some work when I was 8 months pregnant, and I had to be honest, you have to. They were like, they want someone to play like a sprite. And I was like, I can do that. I can get sprite. I know my body. And they were like, so there'll be a bit of action, like just jumping up and down, rolling, no stunts. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to tell them I'm going to lose this job. I was like, I'm going to have to be honest with you. It sounds really, really great. And I am super interested, but you should know I'm 8 months pregnant at the moment. That may have a bearing on the kind of movement you can record. Like some things you can fudge, some things you can get away with, especially if you're good at movement like I am. I was like, I have a feeling that I'm not going to be right for you. And she was like, oh, thank you for letting me know. That really just saved us time. Do you have any suggestions? I was like, I can tell you 5 right now. I can tell you 5 people who I know who are really great for it. I can, if you want, I can check if they're available, and then I can pass their details on to you. And that's the kind of thing we do. We all have databases of people we've worked with before who we know are good at certain things, or you can direct them to casting databases. But I know that in our world, I meet the same people all the time. Like I used to call them my nemesises, my audition nemesises. And now they've just become friends who I know will be there. I'm like, oh, I'm going to see Rachel. They're like, under 5'1", characterful looks, good movement. I'm going to see Rachel. All those things, you just come together, and because you work together in the volume, which is, sorry for people who don't, the volume is kind of like the performance recording space in motion capture. It's a big gray space that you all act in. And it's, if I could do gaming for the rest of my career, let's just say I wouldn't be crying about it.
Wow.
It's it's a real experience.
It's really nice to hear that it's pleasant. So I was when we first got in touch, I actually didn't realize that you were also in Wicked. I did a sort of like almost semi-unintentional double feature of your movies the other day. I watched Wicked with the kids like during the day, and then I watched Toxic After like afterwards, after they went to bed. So
wait, you did
a Luisa Guerreiro double feature. Yeah, exactly. I did. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But that was really cool. I didn't know. I mean, it's hard not to notice that you do like, so if you're doing the Dr. Dillerman performance, and then you're also doing Toxie, like there's that you had this 2 collabs with Peter Dinklage. Like, do you guys have like a professional relationship, or is that purely coincidence?
It's so funny. I like to tell my friends that I'm just giving him so much work. If they believe that, they're crazy. Like, I'm not a person who can give Peter Dinklage work. It was one of those really coincidental things. Like, we did Toxie. I knew I'd be working with Peter with that. That was back in 2021. I mean, he was. I've said this on other podcasts before, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying. But the first time I met him, he kind of was like, hey, I'm from New Jersey. If you don't get my humor, a lot of, kind of like, it's because I'm from there. And the British person in me is like, damn it, he's going to be a dick, isn't he? It's going to be one of those people who says, as a caveat, like, oh, you're not going to find me funny, but it's going to be you because, And I was like, don't do that. And actually, he was the funniest, nicest, most genuine, generous person. I'm not saying that because I'm paid to. I've done the job. I was like, he's very dry humor. He's very dry, but when it hits, and you just chuckle about it for the next 5 days. You're like, oh damn it! But he would just give you a look. You were like, yeah, sorry about that. But I'll do better. But like I knew he'd be working with him, so we had a good chunk of time at the beginning to watch his performances, see his energy, and that's where kind of puppeteering gets in. But also, your work as an actor, like that was one of the jobs that was a gift. I say the gift, and it's hard because speak. When you're an actor, people think that you're an actor because you want profile. Do you know what? It helps you get work. If you've got profile, it can help. It's like people who are like, oh, money doesn't make you happy. I'm like, I could love to test that theory. Give me some money. I'll tell you how happy I can be with it. I can buck that trend. Like you've been talking
it's a big part of Toxic Avenger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like with acting, everyone thinks like, oh, you want it to so that people know who you are. You want a role where you're speaking. Always have those lines because then it's something you could show. This was one of those jobs that I absolutely loved because it wasn't about ego. My job was to be invisible. No one could know that Luisa Guerreiro was in it. It had to be completely Peter Dinklage. And then I was under the assumption that my name might be under stunts or movement or collaborative, or, it would be further down. And my job would be to sell that performance as Peter. And that's what I was looking forward to doing. It was a challenge, but I was like, that's my job. And I love that because you can be invisible for a bit. It doesn't have to be about what the choices you're making. So with Toxie, it was initially working with Peter, looking at his performances, what were his choices, what has he done for Winston, and then you basically he went away after providing me with all that information. We had him running up and down to see how he ran. We gave him the mop in his hand. It was like, right, how do you move with a mop? Because I know how I move, and I'm combat trained, but I need to know how Winston moves so I can put it into my body. Like, there's no point him suddenly looking like a different person the minute he fights. It's not going to run, and people are not stupid. We can't treat audience members like they're stupid. They're going to know because I see it when I'm watching stuff. So, and my only thing was, and I've said this, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but I was under the assumption, never judge a book by its cover. I was under the assumption, because I was a jogger back then, I need to go back. I was like, oh, great. Okay, I'm going to be in full prosthetics. It's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to be really hot. I'm pretty sure Peter's slower than me as a jogger. I can just take it easy and relax a bit. That man can move. I was like, what the? He runs. Like, he power runs. I was like, you put him up in his hand, and I swear, we had him going back and forth, back and forth. I felt like I was making Peter Dinklage do the beep test. I was like, he was going back and like super fast. I was like, oh, damn. Like, I cannot rest with this one because I have to mimic his movement. And if that's the way he runs, then that is the speed, that is the gait. I have to put all of that in place. But actually, it really worked for the character because he is this everyday guy who is fired by something. He just doesn't know what that fuel is until he gets into a part where he can disappear. And it's not about him standing up as Winston and going, hey, I'm going to make myself completely exposed and open to it. He has nothing left to lose apart from his son. So he knows what to fight for. And it's not about him being Winston anymore. He now has this super ability to do things, which actually helps him realize that he was super able to do it before. He just needed a bit of a punch up. But that was one where you had to really use your movement and copy him. And then he did the most wonderful thing. Him and Macon trusted me as an actor in my own right to make choices in the moment based on what I knew that he had done for Winston, so that when the other actors are acting with you, you're not just replicating something that's been recorded. You're actually in the moment with them and giving them respect enough to go, this is what I think Peter would have done as Winston in this point. And I'm going to provide you with that so that each take is organic, so that each take doesn't feel like you're talking to someone who's just learnt some lines and is in a different film. It has to be that we're all there in the same place making the same film, and we're all on the same narrative, and we're all just talking to each other and listening and then responding. So that was really great. I got to use not only my movement skills, but my acting skills. And it's one of those pinch me moments where you're like, I'm acting with these amazing people. And yes, I know people hopefully will think it's Peter, but I'm getting to really get my teeth into something that is so super cool. And this character is just an everyday guy he's a hero despite wanting to be. And sometimes they're the best. Because if you're trying to be a hero and you make it, okay, cool. You knew what your aim was. You achieved it, tick, tick, well done, happy ending. But if you're a hero despite being fearful of it, I think that's so much more better. You have to overcome so much more adversity to get there. And then you learn more about yourself as a person. I think that generates in life as well. And then I knew I was working with Peter. And then when we did Wicked, no one, to the point where they didn't know who was going to do the voice. There was so much speculation about who was going to do the voice. So I was just there being Dr. Dillamond, giving it my best performances. Bowen is lovely in it. He's Bowen Yang was really great, and he'd come up to me and he was like, you're amazing. I'm like, I'm gonna go. I'm doing my best, but I won't be Dr. Dillon. He was like, you're doing amazing. We're like, thank you. And he was really great. And also, what was her name? Bronwyn would do the most, like, I was lucky because I could slightly corpse in role if I lost it. But her and Ariana would make me laugh, but you'd stay in role. And then once they said cut, I'd be like, okay, I'm in a harness with like this head thing coming out at me. And I just let the head drop because I was like, there's nothing I can do other than just corpse myself until we get to the next take. If they get caught corpsing, they're on camera. Camera's off me at that point. So I could hide it a bit more. But it was a lot of fun. Like, no one knew who was going to voice it. And I was like, it's definitely not going to be me. Like, they're not going to have Luisa Guerreiro be the voice of Dr. Dillamond. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. I'm not going to say no if they want it, but I'm pretty sure it's not. To the point where I think the musical version, the Broadway version, had gifted some merch to all the stars who were on set, so the people who were playing the main roles. And I got a call from production going, "Hi, Louisa. This is," I can't remember who it was, from production. It's from Wicked. It was codename Gershwin. I was like, "Oh, hi." And they were like, "So, some merchandise has been sent to us by Wicked Broadway. And I just wondered if, since we don't know who's playing Dr. Dillamond, you're kind of the closest person we have to it. So would you like it?" And I was like, "Free merch? I'll take it." Everything was an extra large. I don't know who they thought would be playing it, but I wear the hoodie that I have, like, as a kind of like snood, as like a winter snood. And then I found out it was Peter, and I just imagine him doing the ADR going, "Her again? Ugh. Really? I've had enough of this chick." But yeah, it was one of those moments where I was like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't get to work with him on this, which was, I would have loved to, but it feels like, saying hello to him again, like, but through the ADR booth. So
That's so cool.
It was a lot of fun to see his performance on top of something I helped provide in movement. And he just does a brilliant job voicing Dr. Dillamond. It gives him so much heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, what did you think of the Wicked double bill?
I loved it. Like, it was fun. That was fun to, like, I mean, me and watching Wicked and then Toxic Avenger right afterwards.
Do you know, they were selling the DVDs side by side at FOP Covent Garden. A friend of me, she sent me a picture of it, just basically going, "Did you do this?" I was like, "Look, I did not go in FOP Covent Garden and just do a little section for myself. I promised. Otherwise, Snow White would have been in there as well."
Oh, Snow White,
but it was very, very, it's, you take a lot of pride in what you do when you're proud of the projects you've been in.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, I haven't seen Wicked for Good yet. I haven't gone to see that yet. I really want to go see it. I'm really excited. This was my second time watching the first one. My daughter, who's 7, is a really big fan. Our son, who's 4, like, loses steam after like 20 minutes with Wicked, but it's okay. He'll get there. But yeah, they did not join me on the Toxic Avenger one this time. We'll see, maybe another time in the future. I don't know. But
I've been telling my mum about Toxic Avenger since 2023 when it was screened. And she's been like, "Oh yeah, no, well, it's nice to see you doing something." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna take that, fine." But it was only when it was I was on a bus during its like initial first screening in the UK in London. And I think it only had like a 2-week promotion on the buses. But she saw a picture, and this is what, 3 years, like 2 years after it had actually come out. I'd shown her, like, I'd said to her, "This is it. You can look it up. You can take an interest in me
it's real
and my career." And she's like, "Well, it's nice to see." "Oh, well, I'm going to, I you told me about it. Oh, well, when's it coming out?" When she saw the picture, I had a telephone call from her going, "Oh my God, but you look terrible." I was like, "What do you mean I look terrible?" She's like, "I don't know how you work like that. Oh my God, it's terrifying. I hope you're not showing your daughter that. You give nightmares." I was like, "How are you only seeing it now? I've been showing you all this stuff on my social media for 2 years. 2 years." She's like, "Well, I don't look at your stuff." I'm like, "Oh my God." Then you would have been prepared. You would have been prepared. She calls James Bond's fantasy crap, and it's full of violence, and it's not good. If she sees Toxic Avenger, she may have a heart attack.
Yeah, this might be the new standard bearer for fantasy crap.
And be like, "Mom, just have it. If you watch it, just have a sherry beforehand. You'll be fine."
So I was gonna say, I did like when I was watching the Toxic Avenger this time around, I was like thinking about like your performance, and you kind of talked about how you wanted to like you're trying to be Peter
Yeah.
as being the character, which is, like probably an extra challenge for acting. But I mean, I thought you did a great job. Like the
Thanks.
emotional core was there. Like it was really like just the body, the physicality of it was amazing. And I really enjoyed, like, I loved, we were talking before this, we both really loved the movie overall. Do want to talk about, since we talk about monster creature effects and stuff, what kind of went into creating the prosthetics, the Toxie prosthetics? Like, what was the application process like? What was like maneuvering in that? Like, how did that go for you?
I mean, I've got to give props to Millennium FX, who designed and also put the costume together, and they're a UK-based company based in Aylesbury. I've done some work with them before on previous projects, but this project they brought me in for was very much being fitted before you head out there, because they need to do the initial design before you can ship it out there. And then the people who are with us on set, like on base, they're amazing. There's a crew of about 4 or 5 of them headed up by a guy called Charlie Blewett. And he and his team, who we were all like a family together, they would just apply this makeup, but then they didn't finish with everyone else and go home and have a drink and just chill. They would be making new aspects of the suit, so new arms, new legs for the next day, reapplying paint, remolding. Such a full-on job. And then be there an hour before I ever got there. So if I had a pickup at 2:00 in the morning, there is no way I'm complaining, because I know that Charlie's there at 1:00 in the morning and he's already prepping at 1:00. Like, he's not being picked up at 1, he's there at 1. I'm being picked up at 2. So it was one of those, we were all in it for the long haul. So if we're all together at like 1:00 in the morning, 2:00 in the morning, 12 midnight, and then starting on set at 8:00, you just have to learn to have a laugh with each other and just, enjoy it. And it was 4 hours of makeup, so 4 hours from beginning to being ready to get on set. And then of course you got the final bits of whatever the scene was. You might have to add gloop or UV veins, and everything would be painted every day, like from fresh. And I think that's what made the suit so good, plus fake teeth.
Wow.
One eye covered with an animatronic. Earplugs, which we found out on set, I think was after the second day. The animatronics are quite loud in your head because everything's amplified within kind of like a mini vacuum, because it's all glued to your face in 3 parts, this head. So you've got a skull cap, which is the majority with the eye, and then you have 2 other bits that are like fastened together so well that you can't even see the joins. It's super, super work. But I found out they'd be like, action, and I'd just be standing in the middle of the street as Toxie, just going. And I was like, people look at me strange. What's going on? And I was waiting for the action, and all I can hear is. And Macon came up to me, and he looked a bit furtive, and I was like, "Oh, Macon's maybe they've designed to do something different with the scene. I'll listen up." And he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, bud." I was like, "Hi," and he's like, "So did you hear me saying action?" And I was like, "No, I did not." And they're like, "Okay, I'm gonna wave at you when I want you to run, okay?" So he had this like amazing director just literally waving like a lunatic about 400 yards.
Oh my gosh.
So that I could see, because we didn't have time to take the makeup off, put in an earpiece, and then change. The next day, there's an earpiece waiting for me. So where I can actually hear what's going on, because it was one of those where I no idea what was going on. It's really hot. It was 40-degree heat in Bulgaria during the summer. It's filmed during the summer. And yeah, you know what? People are always like, "Oh God, that must have been terrible." I'm going to sound so awful when I say this. It wasn't terrible because I'm getting paid.
That's fair.
And also, it was such an amazing opportunity that I didn't feel it was terrible. I'm in this amazing transformative get-up where I don't look like me, and I can fully escape. I can just be free to do whatever I want as long as I'm acting through the prosthetics. So you have to heighten your performance just the tiniest bit so that it's not over the top, but it's comes across as natural. Because what you're doing, if I was to act cinematically underneath all that prosthetics, it would just look like I wasn't doing anything. Toxie would look very numb. The lips wouldn't move enough to actually show the dialogue. So you had to amp it up by 10%, just to make it look like it's a naturalistic cinematic performance, but also have that like ability to also go over the top if you needed to, like shouts and things and fake teeth and everything. So you have to be able to dial it up and dial it down. And no, that's where my experience in working with prosthetics really came into play. I understood that this amount of prosthetics, I'm going to have to dial up, not 50%, because it's going to look like melodrama. It's going to look very cartoony if I do 50%. If I do 10%, I'm going to give a certain amount of credit to Peter's performance, because it's going to look cinematic. It's going to look the way he did it in rehearsal, and I'm going to have that energy. But if I was to, he's very still as a performer, and I don't mean that in a way whereby he's not doing anything. I mean that in the way as his energy is controlled. And for this character, he was just very like controlled and still, and spoke when he needed to, and was very observant. It was almost like prey with a predator mindset. So someone watching all the time, but not sure how to act, before he turned into Toxie. And then it became this watching, this analyzing, this trying to figure out what was going on in the world. So I had to bring that into performance. But if I just did that as Peter with all the prosthetics on top, the breath gets lost in all the prosthetics. So you have to heighten that as well. You need to heighten that 10% as well. So it was one of those where the prosthetics was designed so well that I didn't have to worry about that. It was just the heat of it. So they had leaf blowers, 2 leaf blowers, which they would stick down my legs or anywhere else that was needed. Not in anywhere, but down my legs. And they would basically blow air to like make sure that I was being ventilated. And yeah, there were many moments where I could just have a lot of fun with that. And, you know, you're not meant to have innuendo on set because it's meant to be a safe space for everyone. But the SFX team were not included in that conversation at the beginning of filming. So we took a lot of liabilities with that.
That must have felt super refreshing, though, like just like a gush of air like that.
Oh, it was so good. Like you're sweating, and the sweat has nowhere to go. You just feel this sweat like piling up and piling up. And there's nothing you can do about it. If you have a bead of sweat that falls down your back, you can't get that itch. You just have to let it go. You have to be like, there's nothing I can do. I have to be okay with this. And I'll get it in 8 hours. It's fine. Just get it in 8 hours. And they had the ventilation tubes for the tents. You'd stick them on either side of my ears, so it would go around my head like that.
Cool.
Which was great. You just find ways around it. And because I've done in-suit puppeteering before, some of it's been quite claustrophobic. Other bits have been a bit more roomy. It's what I call the mansion effect. I'm like, oh, so much space. I could like have a buffet in here. Those kind of things make you aware of, you know, you can't panic. You have to trust your team. If you panic or hyperventilate or don't trust that you will be okay, basically you're going to set your body into a series of anxiety panics. Like anxiety will then turn into a panic, will deform into hyperventilation, and then you're going to get worried to the point where you probably didn't need to be that worried. Like it's not fight or flight at that point. So I had to be like, look, if anything's wrong, they can get me out. I just need to trust that it's going to take about 10, 15 minutes if they are panicking to get me out. So I need to control my breath. And I need to know that it's going to be okay. I do not have to panic. Obviously, if something was going to be completely wrong, they'd be ripping you out of there completely. But if it's something like you're just too hot, you just have to calmly go, look, I'm guessing I'm at 95 at the moment. I don't want to be hitting over 90. So if there's nothing we can do, I can tell you in another 5 minutes, it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much. And then they would work it out. So you all work as a team. And there was a lot of effort put into making sure that, one, I was professionally treated. I felt like one of the main talent. They made me feel so supportive and so included in all of the decisions, probably more so than some of the other actors. They were always checking in with me. But there was a lot of effort put into keeping me cool, keeping me hydrated, making sure that I was fed. Although I just felt when you have fake teeth and you have prosthetics glued to your lips, I'm always very aware that there's certain things I shouldn't be ordering. So it's like, I will leave the moussaka. It's got a lot of oil. I will leave the carbonara. Give me the driest thing you have on the menu. And they'd be like, it's fine. We can work around you. I was like, it's good. Let's just not have to reapply everything. But the best thing they got me, and this is down to Legendary. Thank you, Legendary. You guys are legends. They got me my very own slushy machine.
Wow.
Aww, that's so sweet.
Nice.
I went on set one day and there was a slushy machine just in my tent. And I was like, oh,
wow.
This has just made everything brilliant. So yeah, I think I overdosed on slushies for like the first 2 days we had it. I was like, I don't think there is a limit. And then I was like, yeah, there's definitely a limit. When your tongue, you wake up the next
You found it.
still blue. Yeah, I was like, okay, I need to cut down on the slushies.
I had a question about what was the audition process like, or was there an audition process for Toxie? And were there decisions that you made in that audition that carried into the film that like you kind of helped like the genesis of, or was it like once you had the effects and everything, you had to kind of course correct?
That's a really good question. It's kind of like the audition itself was much like Assassin's Creed in respect to I didn't know what it was for. So you just, as an actor, take the material and do the best you can. Like you never know whether what you're going to do is going to land. So you just do instinctually what you think you're happy with. Like you can't second guess what they need. All I was told is that they wanted someone with combat skills because there would be fighting involved. They wanted people with a history of prosthetics to understand heavy prosthetics. And they wanted people who were actors in their own right, because they needed to be able to act through the prosthetics. That was what I was told. So they wanted 2 takes. It was my agent said, look, can you provide 2 takes? Here's the script. And the sides were Guthrie Jones. What's this Jones' surname? I'm not familiar with. It's basically the scene in the woods with Guthrie. And I didn't know that what it was. All the names were changed. But it was that scene. And Toxie wasn't called Toxie, had a different name. I think it was Creature on there. And she said, look, just do one as you would as an actor as Luisa, but they would like it in American accent. So I was like, okay, cool, I can do that. And then the second one, just slightly adapted to incorporate if you were wearing heavy prosthetics. So 2 versions, one that was a naturalistic performance based on your choices for that scene. And then the second one, just how you would be acting it with heavy prosthetics, but obviously you wouldn't have heavy prosthetics for the audition. And so I was like, this is really interesting. This is a creature that I don't know what this creature is. So I just have to treat this like as an acting role. How do I, like, where has this person come from? Where is this entity going to? What is their objective in the scene? So I just made a few choices and thought, look, if it's cinematic, and we're assuming that this is when they've just turned, everything is going to be new to them. Like, this is a new body. This must be like when someone loses 30 pounds of weight overnight because they've had gastric bypass surgery or something. Like, this is new to them. So they may feel like the person before, but they look very different. And this is how do you marry that up? So I just made a few choices like that. And then for the second one, I just dialed it up about 10%, 20%, because I figured if they were in heavy prosthetics, you still want a very naturalistic cinematic performance. And then didn't think anything of it, sent off the audition tapes. And then I think it was 3 days later, my agent phoned me back, lovely Rachel, and she said, so yeah, they'd like to have a chat with you. They're just trying to filter down their options. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, I did a good job. Amazing. Okay, cool. They're filtering. I'm not going to second guess anything. You know, it can go either way. And they're like, so the director would like to talk to you. Do you have time on Thursday? And I remember being Thursday because I was doing a short film for students. Lovely students, but it was a student short film, unpaid, which my mum didn't know about, because the first thing she always says is, how are you? And are you working? And paid? And I was like, I'm fine. The line is cracking. I'll speak to you later. So she's always about, is it paid? But I knew I was doing that short film, and I was like, well, I can try and ask the students if there's like a break where I can do this Zoom that they want to do. Who's the director? She was like, it's Macon Blair. I was like, I know this name. I have just watched I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. I was like, it's Macon. Okay. I said, Rachel, I will be dressed most probably in a bathrobe with my hair in a beehive towel, talking to a goldfish, because that is the premise of this short film. Is there any other day that they can do? And I was like, no, it has to be Thursday. Are you right? I was like, fine. Okay, I'll just make it work. And who else is going to be there? Like, oh, just the other actor who's involved. Okay, who's that? Peter Dinklage. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to do a Zoom call in a bathrobe with Peter Dinklage and Macon Blair. I was like, okay, this is happening. I was like, I'm definitely not getting this role. Definitely. They're going to be like looking at this person going, who is this crazy person? So I took some time out and I just had a chat, and it was one of those. I did event catering for about 17 years, and you meet anyone from Boris Johnson to Stevie Wonder. You just don't get starstruck after a while. You're like, you're going to have a canapé, you're going to have a canapé. Like, please take a canapé. So I knew that they were, have people who are standing, they've got good profile, but my job is to be an actor and tell them what I was going to do, and that's what they wanted. They wanted to know what you would do if you were given the role. Like, how would you approach it? And I was very honest and said, look, the way I would approach it is to just take the material that's given to me and put it in the scene. Like, my job is to be Peter. My job is to be Peter being Winston. That's my job. That's the best way I can put it. And if I can take on board everything he's doing and put that into my body, and I think they asked me, like, what's your thing about gender physicalities, because obviously you're a woman and he's a man. I was like, look, I went to an all girls school and I love observing people. I think gender can be something that you look to show a different type of gender. However, gender is a social construct and we are all taught to be a certain way. Yes, our physiology can change a lot, but in general, when I was playing male characters at secondary school, because it was all girls, there are certain things you put into your mind. Like, men generally don't move their hips when they're moving. They don't sway. They're very aligned. So it's train tracks. And that's general. It doesn't mean everyone, but it's general. So I was like, look, it doesn't matter whether you're a guy or a girl. I'm going to be looking at your physicality and put it into mine. If you sway your hips, you sway your hips. If you don't sway, I'm not going to do it. Like, I can move it according to how you move. You are the template. So I'm going to adjust to that. And then I think it was like 3 days later, they were like, yeah, can you come to Bulgaria in 2 weeks' time? Here's the script. And this is what you're doing. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And we were out there for 3 or 4 months. But that's the point where you were saying, like, did anything in the audition that I did move itself into actual production? I wouldn't say anything in the audition, but Macon and Peter were very open to suggestions that I would make as an actress. And that was, I want to say, lovely. Such a British, it was very lovely. But that was really lovely. Very lovely. It was so lovely of them. But it was very, what's the word? When you just feel like hugged. It feels very supportive and welcomed. You
like
feel you're in the fold.
I think the word is lovely.
Lovely.
Works, yeah.
Very lovely.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the right word.
One of the people, you're like, great. I'm not just someone in a different department helping to bring this together. And this is the thing. Working in this industry for this long, I think there needs to be more. How do you put this? Credit to every department in a film. Because I can't do what I do without any other department. Like, the actors quite rightly get the credit that they're due. However, I love it when actors say, look, I'd like to thank the ADs. I'd like to thank the transport, the people who got me to set. I want to thank the hair and makeup, because all of those people make it. When it came to me doing Toxie, it was the director, it was the first AD, it was Peter, it was the fellow actors who were with me. Like, Elijah's one of the nicest people I've ever met and so supportive. Same with Taylor, same with Jacob, who is so much older now. I was like, oh my gosh, like, you're like, a young man now. You felt like you were a young boy then, but now you're a young man. It's crazy. Also one of the nicest people I've ever meet. But yeah, it was one of those times where you felt like you were inputting into the film suggestions that you could make with everyone else. It was this collaborative thing where obviously Macon, he has a vision and he's going to hold that final straw. But there was never a feeling whereby I couldn't feel free to make a suggestion. You know, it wasn't that, oh, I better not because I'm going to get shut down. Know your place. I think the place was the set and everyone was on set. So everyone's voice was valued. And then we all contributed to making this film. So yeah, I like what I did in audition. We parked and that meant that I was now there. And then we very much worked on it all as a unit.
That's so cool to hear. Yeah, I love that. Real quick, I wanted to ask you, there's so many great moments in it. And you mentioned the gender piece and that brought this to my mind. The scene where you have to, where he says, I got to take my dick out.
Oh my God.
I had to ask you about it. That just seemed like such a fun one to film, like just pulling that out and then like.
That was one where I turned around to all the guys on set and went, so guys, I'd love to hear how you would do this. Like how would you, like, can I get like a brainstorming session on this? I was like, I don't know. Peter was he'd done all the scene, but physically he hadn't given me like a framework on how we were going to do that scene. I was like, oh, thanks, Peter. So Macon had a great time. We had a great laugh over how would we achieve this, like, and Taylor, just so hard not to laugh with some of Taylor's one-liners because she delivers them like straight. If there was a line, she's straight down the line. With no sense of irony, no sense of like, I'm trying to be funny. It just is. Yeah. She's like, please tell me you're not going to be a pervert. I'm like, I'm not a pervert. It's a great moment. But yeah, as speaking from someone who is
so funny,
I took a lot of reference from the guys who were very connected to their dicks and could give me a lot of information about, you know, how are you going to maneuver said item? And I had to ask Macon, like, okay, well, what is this dick looking like? Is it mammoth? Because, or is it girth? Is it length? What's going on here? Like, does it mutate as we have the urine coming out? Like, all these questions I never thought I'd ask in my life. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. And I hadn't seen the final result until I saw it on set, on film.
That's so fun.
So that was a lot of fun. My partner Mike, he's an actor as well, and I remember phoning him and being like, "I'm going to send you like some NDA stuff, so you cannot share it. Can you just let me know?" Because I was like, "Can I just get a reading? Like, can we read this together and tell me what you think?" And he could not stop laughing. He was like, "This is an amazing scene. This needs to be in a lot more genres." I was just like, "But how would you do it?" Like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I've never had to hold my dick and pee on some chains. I was like, okay. He was like, I'm not going to send you. I said, could you just send me a video, just like something on WhatsApp? He was like, no, I'm not going to send you. Like, it's like you did.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, it's one of those scenes that I knew I would have to get some like recon on because I can't. And also, there's a thing called mansplaining, which women talk about, men talking about women. I call it female splaining. Like, I can't female splain how you would do that. Like, I can't be like, well, look, obviously you're going to do this. I'm like, I don't know shit about it. So I was going to take the information. I was going to say thank you very much, and I was going to uphold it completely and be like, let's get all these opinions and find the best method.
I love that. Loved the movie. Loved the final fight scene too. Was that Kevin Bacon under prosthetics at the end as well, or was that another actor?
Lovely. Spencer.
Who was it?
Spencer. Yeah.
Okay.
He plays Darth Vader as well. Like, so he's the body of Darth Vader as well.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize that.
Yeah. No, he's amazing. He's a Welsh actor. He's also in Guardians of the Galaxy. Playing the guy in blue who takes the the Walkman.
Oh yes, I know that scene. Yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah,
So he's someone you see a lot in a lot of those kinds of creature roles too.
yeah.
Oh, that's so
He was
cool.
also Wolfman. Sorry, I should say
Yes.
Spencer Wilding. Is I was
Spencer
trying to
Wilding.
remember the surname. Spencer Wilding. But he's amazing, and he's a professional kickboxer as well, and has a lot of combat history. But he was always like checking in because he's like making sure that I didn't hit you with the axe. I was like, no. He's like, great, okay. I was like, you can go a bit harder if you want. And he'd be like, okay, cool. And he's done this. He's a veteran of working as creature effects and stuff, and he'd be looking out for me, and he's like, make sure you eat properly. And I was like, oh, I am. And he was like, look, you get the carbonara. If you want the carbonara, get the carbonara. They can fix the makeup. I was like, oh, I don't know. He was like, you make sure you do you. Like he was so caring. We'd like, it was nice to spend time out of costume because he also had, like, you've seen it in the scene. It was a very that was also heavy prosthetics,
Yeah,
but
that was a cool
also
getup.
very heavy on the jawline. So in that heat, it would be prone to falling apart and like falling down, like almost falling jowls. And bless him, he was always having it glued back on. And in that heat, it was relentless. So the makeup team did an amazing job keeping it on, but also Spencer did an amazing job just fighting with that as well. Also in the scenes as well, we also had stunties, amazing stunt team who would basically do the more dangerous stuff. We were well up for it. We're like, we'll do it. And they were like, take a break. The combat scenes we did were the hottest days I don't know whether they did it on purpose or just an accident in the schedule, but I think it was like 44 degrees heat at that point.
Yeah.
It was, when I was watching the film, you can see when they've done a panning shot and you can see the heat rays coming off. And I was like, oh, the special effects are amazing. They've even got the heat rays. Then my brain went, shut up, Louisa. You remember how hot that was? That's real.
That's real.
Real heat. I was like, oh, yeah, I now remember. That was super, super hot. And there was no slushy machine on that one because it was offset. It was on a location. I was like, oh, man, this is relentless. But having Spence there was a lot of fun. You just keep going, and just the eyes said everything. You're like, you're good? You're good. And rolling and action. Let's go. Let's try and kill each other. Fabulous.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
great guy. But Kevin was also like super great. I think he did some of the prosthetics, only a tiny bit, and then Spencer took on board. Like the minute he starts to move away, like Spence was in there doing the transformation scene, also mimicking Kevin's performance as Garbinger. So, like as actors in our own right, there was that responsibility to be the main talent who took on those roles and keep those choices embedded in those characters. And in combat, you gotta move like Kevin would, like Garbinger would. Like they're not professional fighters. They are fighting the way they think they would fight given these powers, but they're not trained. Like they've never been trained. So they're basically picking up these moves as they go and using them and finding out how they fight with each other as like almost these creature heroes that they've become. Just one happens to be fueled by evil and the other one happens to be fueled by vigilante justice.
Well said. Well, cool. Thank you so much for answering all these questions. Do you have I guess we didn't talk about you're one of your latest things. You're in the new season of The Witcher. You're the Dwarven Sorceress in the new season. Really excited to check that out. What else you got coming up that people should look out for?
Well, it's been in the works for about 9 years, but then I had 2 children, my bad. And then life got in the way. But I have been trying to pen a one-woman show based on my infamous mum. I know everyone was doing a one-woman show in COVID. I was like, I'm going to wait a bit before I bring mine out because, there's a trend.
Smart.
And then there's a trend. But it's basically, she's called Teresa. So I've called it Mother Teresa, ? Because it's slightly dubious. My whole show is based on, look, Mother Teresa was controversial in her own right. My mother is controversial in her own right. If Mother Teresa of Calcutta can be canonized, my show is basically a petition for my own Mother Teresa of Madeira to be canonized under similar criteria. So it's something I'm trying to pen. Kind of like loving tribute to basically what would be my family, which is kind of Encanto on acid.
I'd watch that movie.
Oh yeah.
I can't even tell you. There's so much hard relate when I watch Encanto. I'm like, oh my goodness, someone's feeding my trauma and made it light and bright and colorful. This is amazing. And yet I have very British friends who've watched it and gone, isn't it lovely? So beautiful culture. You're like, sorry, spoilers if anyone who watched this, but I'm like, he is living in the walls. Like, and they know because one of them knows. One of them knows.
Yeah.
They know. That's his sister. But yeah, it's based on that. Like, I've got to say, the people, I say this in the beginning of my show, it's written in there. When I say my family, I inverted commas mean anyone who that the information pertains to. My family is quite large. So basically, if you are not featuring in the show, you got nothing to worry about. It's basically, hopefully, going to be a funny tribute to my mum, who I now do talk to. There was a time where we didn't. And she's great with the grandchildren. However, I've seen a lot, and this is me being serious. Oh, God, I hate being serious. It's so overrated. That I've seen a lot of what's called toxic relationships. And I think families, if it's not fizzled out, they tend to see this as a breeding point where this can keep going, this can be enabled. And it goes down through generations, whereby children see this and they see it as a staple. They see it as something that's a standard. They're like, oh, it's fine. It happens in families. You know, blood is thicker than water. I'm like, have you ever cut a vein? Some blood is not thicker than water. It's quite viscous. You're like, there's some water that's quite, it's quite heavy. Like, this is a stupid phrase. Blood is only thicker than water when you're talking about a unit that's worth saving. If something is destructive, why would you allow that? Why would you allow the suffering of one individual to keep the image of a group of individuals? Nothing is more important than people. Image is ridiculous. Why would you do that? And it's this whole thing of we don't want to be accountable, or we don't want people to think a certain thing. Well, look, if you don't want people to think a certain thing, don't be a certain thing. So my show is hopefully gonna, when I get it written, if I get it written, is a love letter to squashing out toxic family. But yeah, in the works, that nothing concrete as yet. Possibly a few games that will be coming out, which I can't mention, but they'll be coming out in the future. But I know it sounds really soppy, but I'm busy. I've got 2 kids under 3 and a partner who I love dearly, and they're my world, so they keep me busy enough.
Yeah, that's great.
The cat, can't forget the cat. The cat's gonna have a go at me.
You can't forget the cat.
My cat Simba.
Thank you again. Appreciate it, Luisa. You have a great rest of the night.
Thank you, Joe and Louisa, for such an awesome discussion. That was so fun. Thank you all at home for listening. Just as a programming reminder, we do have a Patreon that you can contribute to. We have a $1, $3, and $7 monthly tier, and it's all appreciated. It all goes right back into producing this podcast and giving you the best quality. And yeah, with that, creep it easy.